In this lesson, I'm going to teach you all about double kick. I started playing double kick about 20 years ago, and I was terrible. When I first got the pedal, I was terrible. I didn't even know what pedal I was buying. I just went out to my local drum shop and chose the one that I thought looked the coolest and practiced until I could kind of do it. And it's fair to say that I learned everything the hard way. I just tried and tried and tried and tried. And what I'd like to do in this lesson is give you some tips and advice so that you don't necessarily also have to do things the hard way. If you want to play double kick, one of the first things you'll have to do is choose which pedals that you want to use. And if you think about what type of player you want to be, that's going to answer the question as to what type of pedal that you need. Because there are two main types of pedal, and each one of them achieves something quite different. You've got fairly standard chain drive pedals, like the DW9000, which is what I use. I've used that for years and it's fantastic. You've also got Tama equivalents in the Iron Cobra. You've got Pearl equivalents in the Eliminators. Every company has their kind of a classic pedal, and they're all multi-purpose. You can play most double kick things on these pedals. And then you got direct drive pedals, which are really designed for the players that want to play a million BPM on the feet. That's companies like Trick, Axis, and a bunch of other ones. And those pedals, very, very well engineered. They tend to look like something that Terminator chopped off his body, but they are very, very efficient for playing super quick. Now, I've tried pedals from both of those options. I've tried direct drive pedals, I had a Trick pedal, I had an Axis pedal. I've also tried a bunch of chain drive pedals, and for the type of playing that I do in Tesseract, a chain drive pedal feels way more natural. When I'm playing double kick, I tend to play heel up like this. And I'm playing very much from my tiptoes, balancing my my legs. And if I was playing super fast with a direct drive pedal, I'd be doing heel toe on both feet. Now, I'm not a heel toe double kick player, which is why that sounded awful. But if I was to practice on a direct drive pedal with that kind of technique, I would make the pedals do a lot of the work for me. I'd set up those pedals so that they're super light, so that I'm triggering and so that the beaters are about this far from the head, and I'd be able to train my legs to be able to play really fast double kick. So if that's your goal, to sound like a machine gun on your legs, go and watch one of the guys on YouTube that's teaching that method, the heel toe thing. That can work really well. What I'm going to show you in this video is how to get control of your legs, how to set up your pedal, all of that kind of essential stuff so that you can build up and eventually become a solid double kick player. So you've gone out, you've bought a double kick pedal, you've set it up, you put it on the kit, you go to play, and you can't do what you want to be able to do. Let's have a look at the pedal, because there's probably some settings that we need to change. If you sit away from your kit for a second, and you put a metronome on, and you just play on the ground in your normal seated position, 16th notes on your feet. Do those 16th notes land neatly with the metronome? That's the first thing. If they do, fantastic. Move over to the kit, try it on the pedals there. If you're not matching up with the metronome off the kit, determine what speed the metronome needs to be for you to match up with it, because you might have to take it a bit slower to get started. But let's say that you've just matched up. Everything's feeling good with the metronome. Go to the kit. You've got your metronome counting, and you're going to play on the kicks. That feels nice, okay? That feels nice and consistent. If it sounds more like that, and you're kind of galloping, then we need to look at your pedal settings, because chances are you're trying to do the same thing with both legs. You're trying to make it nice and even, but something about either the right or left, whichever one is faster or slower, is preventing you from doing that naturally. So let's try and make it as natural as possible. For me, the tension on my right pedal, the spring tension, is all the way up. It's maxed out. And on the left too, it's pretty much maxed out. It's a little bit below max. I also consider the position of the kick to make this super easy. Bring it closer. If you've ever been at a show when you've been playing kick and it's been sliding away from you because you haven't locked that kick drum in place, you'll know how hard it is when that 90-degree thigh to shin angle starts to creep out. If your kick drum starts to go further away from you and you're trying to play, it's much more difficult. So bring that back in, right? You don't want to have it that far away from you because it's just going to make it more difficult. So bring it a few inches closer than you have it currently. See how that feels with the same thing. That's the first thing to try. The second thing is going to be the left pedal position. If you are just sat at your kit comfortably, where do your feet naturally land? Okay, do you have to really reach forwards loads, or do they feel in a comfortable position? The left leg, put the pedal where you would naturally put your left leg, so that you're not having to do anything awkward with it. Both of my shins are coming down as close to 90 degrees as I can, and my thighs are about as flat as they can be. Now, that might be because I've got two-dimensional legs, but let's just assume for a minute that I'm a 3D person. My legs are like this, pretty much both of them. There's a tiny little bit of an angle sometimes on my shin, but really not very much, and that applies to both legs. Something that I don't want to overlook, but I also don't want to overcomplicate, is the drive shaft. That's the metal bar that connects the two pedals. I'm actually using an aftermarket drive shaft. It's by a company called Trick, who make really amazing direct drive pedals. I've got their drive shaft on my DW pedal, and that was a recommendation from a student of mine who said, Jay, you need to try one of these things out. It made a massive difference, and sure enough, it did. The one that comes with the DW pedal is perfectly fine, but this one really made an amazing difference to the feel that the left pedal gives you. There's a lot less lag, so it actually feels like you're hitting a drum instead of kind of it being that slave pedal. Now, adding something like that's going to add about $150 onto the cost of the pedal. You don't need it to get started, but if you're looking at optimizing and making things easier, they can make a pretty significant difference. Last thing I'm going to talk about that's equipment based is the beaters, because they make a massive difference as well. If you're using a direct drive pedal and you just want to play super fast, you want a small beater. You want something that isn't a load of weight on the end of your pedal, so that you can throw that thing into the head really, really quick without it tiring your shins out doing heel-toe technique. If, like me, you're using an acoustic drum on stage, at least, I know this is an electric kit, so I just lied, but if you're using an acoustic kit on stage and you're playing that more often, I want weight to be behind each of the beaters. I want to hit hard, and I don't want it to be particularly taxing. So I use the DW machine drive beaters. These come from DW's direct drive pedal, and these beaters are amazing. They've got these two little weights either side, so you can customize the weight of the beater that's hitting the head. They self-level, so once you hit the kick, you can tighten a little nut here, and it self-levels on the head, which is nice and easy, so you're always hitting square, and you're not digging into the head, which is just makes a worse sound and ruins your drum head. And the front of these are also replaceable. This little patch on the front unscrews, and you can put a felt beater on there if you want. For these E-kits, though, these plastic beaters are a lot better, and I tend to use plastic beaters on an acoustic kit as well. And I got those beaters positioned about 6 inches from the head, 6 or 7 inches. Any further back than that, they start hitting my shins and it starts tiring me out. That's kind of the optimum placement for me for everything that I need to do. So that's gear out of the way. Let's talk about exercises. How can you actually get better? So you're at your kit, you've positioned everything, you're comfortable with how everything feels, you've played with the spring tensions and all that kind of stuff, so your playing should be... You can at least do something like that. Your feet should be able to play fairly, not fast, just slow, comfortable double kick if you've got it all set up right. And then, not surprisingly, the first place to start is with a metronome, playing a very simple beat, just trying to lock in straight 16th notes, just right, left, right, left, right, left. The thing I'd like you to determine in this exercise is your starting point. That's going to be the speed at which you can play for about 30 seconds without completely tiring out, without feeling like you need to slow down, without it falling off the click. And you're going to really focus on where each of the quarter notes land, especially the 1 and the 3. Pay close attention to those, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can focus on those, you have a kind of a midway point during the exercise to really lock in and make sure that your dominant leg is landing on those. Nothing too difficult, right? We're just training and conditioning our legs to be able to play these things cleanly. What we probably also want to be able to do, though, is command a little bit more control and play when we want to play, not just straight runs of 16th notes. So straight runs of 16ths are going to build up your stamina and your control, but if you want to be able to place these things in odd timings, which is what I do, you need to practice a few other things. So let's practice a 6-stroke pattern where we play the first 3 strokes of that 6-stroke pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but on the kick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to play right, left, right for that. And I'm playing over it a straight quarter note count. Okay, so we've got quarter notes up on the right hand, we've got groupings of 6 on the feet, the first 3 of which are notes, and these are 16th notes, and then over that we're going to put that snare. So we get this short little loop that's just going to take us around, and we're going to practice that, trying to get that nice and clean. That's going to be our first odd timed pattern. Now, of course, with any of these exercises, you can take them much, much faster. I'm just demonstrating them at an intermediate speed so that you can really hear what's going on. But if you want to get that up to something like that or even faster, then absolutely go for it. But just remember, clean before speed. You need it to be clean, because if you're just playing super fast and it's all over the place, it doesn't sound good. Get it clean, then work on your speed. Let's take that exact same 6-stroke pattern as 16th notes on the kick, and instead of just playing the first 3, we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm playing again right, left, right, left, right for that. Right, left, right, left, right, and then a gap. That's the pattern we're going to play. Okay, and with anything like this, with any double kick patterns, there becomes a point where playing them slow is more difficult, because your body has this kind of motion going on, this easy fluid motion, and past a point you end up holding that back. So playing double kick slow, you might find it easier to play on one pedal. Like, for me, is easier than, much easier with 1 foot than 2 for some exercises. So just consider that point at which it switches over to being a single kick pedal, or even right, left, right, right, left, or something like that. That becomes easier for me as well. There become patterns where leading with my dominant foot is easier for me to do than trying to slow it down with single pedal stuff. It just is a bit easier. But back to the pattern that we actually are meant to be practicing. We're going to get that going with a snare over it as our exercise. Little bit of a challenge to keep that one going for the long run. You might find that after a few repetitions, something starts to get a little bit confused in your brain. Don't worry about that. You just have to drill exercises like that for that kind of feeling to go away. Now, we just played a 5-stroke count within the context of a 6-stroke count. What if we change it straight up to a 5-stroke count? So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 space, we can do something like 1 space 3 4 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that would be that kind of thing. And you'd play that on repeat while you're keeping down a quarter note pattern over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for that, you can either play it as a single pedal exercise, to be honest, to condition your dominant foot to play nice clean double strokes. But this is a double kick lesson, so let's do right, right, left for that pattern. And we're going to keep a quarter note count over here, and we're going to practice that to a metronome. Slightly more complex exercise there, but a great one to sit with if your intention is to be able to play odd timed patterns, because that one requires you to step outside the box a little bit, playing this odd ostinato that's going to repeat until it loops against that quarter note, which is a lot of what you'll hear in Tesseract's music. We use that tool quite a bit. And flexing that muscle with my left leg is something I don't play very often, if I'm being totally honest, but that was a good exercise for me because there were elements of that felt a little bit challenging. I typically play something like that with a single foot, but at that tempo at 130, it provided a nice little challenge, especially towards the third and fourth repetitions there. So sit with that exercise, see if that doesn't help you improve your limb independence a little bit with your legs. And if you're considering using this as your own kind of exercise, you can choose any number. It doesn't have to be a 5. Choose a 7, choose a 9, choose another odd number. I like working with odd numbers because they're fun. And choose which accents you're going to use, choose which ones you're going to leave as spaces, and learn what that pattern feels like to a to a quarter note count. If you are starting with 16th notes, or see if you're starting with 16th note triplets or 32nd notes if you're a crazy person, there's all these things you can decide to write these really fun, interesting, intricate patterns. And typically, if you start with an odd number and stick it on the kick, you can't do much wrong, and it's going to provide a really good odd timing exercise for yourself to work with. Now, another tool that we use in Tesseract is taking that kind of concept but chopping it up a little bit. So we might start out with a couple of repetitions of this pattern that we've written, but then I want to change it out to something different after a couple more. And you'll have heard that since the very first Tesseract album with songs like Concealing Fate. There's all these double kick patterns that are all over the place. Now, what I'd like to do is steal a chunk from one of those grooves to provide you with a pretty challenging double kick exercise. Now, there's absolutely loads going on in that groove, and what I'm going to do is slow down a performance of it so that I can talk you through each bar. So there's a couple of slightly tricky things going on in this first bar. We've got a kick drum pattern where I'm playing right, left, right at the beginning, right, left, snare, right, and then at the end of that bar we've got right, left, and the snares are in slightly funny places as well. We've got the snare on the third 16th note, so right, left, snare, right, so kick, kick, snare, kick, and then right at the end we've got that snare drum as well on the 15th, 16th note, which actually feels fine because it's on the offbeat, so it doesn't feel too weird. The second bar is much easier. We've got those kick drum groupings. We've got the 4, the 2, and then the 4, and they're pretty easy to play if you just loop that bar. And the snare drum's in an easy place because it matches up with what the right hand's doing, and it's right in the middle of the bar. The third and fourth bar, conveniently, are pretty much exactly the same, with the exception that there's a crash cymbal at the beginning of the third bar. So crash, and then I go back to the hi-hats or the stack, whatever it is that I'm playing there. And all of those kick drum groupings that are 4s, I'm playing right, left, right, left. The fifth bar is pretty much the same as the first bar, there's just one kick that's different. So if you got the first bar down, this one is a little bit easier. We're just going to take out that kick that's on the 4th 16th note, and then the rest of it's going to stay the same. The 6th bar is the exact same as the 2nd bar, but where the snare lands, I also stick a crash on it as well. So it's the exact same, there's just a crash coming down instead of staying on the stack or the hi-hat. And then those final 2 bars are kind of the same as bars 3 and 4 again. So really there's 2 halves to this groove. It's subtly different each time round. The only difference with the final bars is you've got a crash at the very beginning and then a crash at the very end as well. So it's 2 very small differences there, but nothing really that should throw you off too much if you've practiced bars 3 and 4. So there's some ideas to help you with your double kick. Everything from choosing the right pedal for the playing style that you want to get into, to setting that thing up, to positioning on your kit, to simple exercises, to slightly more advanced exercises. There should be something in there for everyone to dig their teeth into, and hopefully that was helpful. For more lessons like this, make sure you're on my mailing list to be among the first people to know when I post one of these, and also fill out that little form that asks what it is that you want to improve about your playing. If you do that, I'll send you an email with a link to a lesson that's specifically going to help answer some questions for you. Also, if you really want to deep dive into these types of concepts and unlock a load of potential in your drumming, check this out. This is my progressive drumming masterclass. It's the most popular option that I've got for students. Since launching it last February, I've had over 100 students join and growing, and it covers everything that I consider to be the most important to learn these complex styles of drumming. We start out with practice routine, optimizing your practice routine, getting one in place if you don't have one in place, and removing all the obstacles surrounding that, making it super easy for you to follow and to identify what you will practice specifically, taking that question away forever. Then we get into fundamentals, correcting any technique issues, sorting out efficiency and flow around the kit, making it super easy for you so that when we reach the more difficult stuff, then you're absolutely flowing. And then the remaining 3 modules cover polyrhythms, geometric modulation, your specific patterns that you want to focus on that are the most important to make all this stuff super easy. And we obviously get into some fairly technical ideas and push all elements of limb independence and timing and groove and dynamic control. All of those things we focus on heavily. Schedule a call with me. There's a little form that you'll fill out. Put your information in there. We can have a talk on Zoom if you want to do that. If you don't and you just want to get started, then the link is going to be in the description below to do that. As always, thank you so much to the people that make it this far into the video. If you're not already, consider hitting that subscribe button to help this video get in front of the eyeballs of people for whom it may also help.